Well, welcome everybody. I want to thank you for joining us for another episode of the Journey to Thrive podcast. I'm your host today, Deacon Jim Friend, and I'm the Director of Mission Advancement for the St. John Vianney Center. Our podcast is produced by the St. John Vianney Center, and if you like this content, I hope you're going to stick around and subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a like because it really helps to push our content out to other people. You can follow St. John Vianney Center on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X. And remember that you can listen to this episode wherever you download your favorite podcasts. I'll leave links in the show notes of this episode to our guests today and to our website. I invited Al Riviezzo, our board chair, to join me on this podcast today because we're going to be honoring Al along with Archbishop Laurie, Sister Mary Ellen Kennedy, and Sister Mercedes McCann at our upcoming 80th anniversary breakfast celebration in May. Al will be receiving the inaugural award for Outstanding Champion for his service to the center. I think you're going to enjoy this conversation with Al because he shares not only his personal reflections on our mission, but some important insights into the evolution of our ministry. So here's a brief bio on Al. Al Riviezzo is a partner at Fox Rothschild Law Firm with an office based in Exton, Pennsylvania. Al has over 45 years of experience in health law representing healthcare providers, including physicians, medical group practices, hospitals and healthcare systems, ambulatory surgical centers, and diagnostic imaging facilities in corporate and transactional matters. Al has been on our board of directors for over 15 years, and he's served as our board chair for the past 6. And so, without further ado, here's my conversation with Al Riviezzo. Al, welcome to our podcast.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So glad you could join us. And of course, Al, we're going to be honoring you and 3 other wonderful honorees at our breakfast in May to celebrate our 80th anniversary. And so I thought it'd be wonderful to take a few minutes today for our listeners to get to know you. And also by getting to know you, get to learn a little bit more about the history and the recent history of St. John Vianney Center, especially how we've kind of evolved and changed over the last several years. But Al, you built an impressive career with over 45 years in healthcare law at Fox Rothschild, and you've specialized and represented a variety of medical healthcare clients. What drew you initially to health law, and how has that kind of evolved during your career?
Sure. Well, it kind of goes back to when I started private practice. It'll be 50 years this year.
Wow.
At the time when I first went into private practice, it was before the onset of managed care. And at that time, representing physicians, it was easier because there wasn't all the entanglements that managed care brought. But with the onset in the late 70s and early 80s of HMOs and managed care organizations, suddenly the business side of medicine became important. The doctors are more than adequate to address the art side. They say the art of medicine, but then all of a sudden the business side became important. So it was important for the doctors to make sure they had the business side covered with appropriate staff members, accountants, attorneys to help them deal with the business side. And that's really when I got involved very heavily in representing providers.
Wonderful. And I would imagine that's helped you a lot in your work here at St. John Vianney Center, your background in healthcare.
Sure. And in terms of being able to handle transactional matters and in just general corporate matters too.
Sure. How did you first become involved at St. John Vianney Center?
Well, way back when I had a client who is a Franciscan nun, and she was on the board at St. John Vianney, but she is a doctor who worked in the emergency department of a local hospital. And she was on the board, and she asked me one time about whether I'd be interested in serving on the board. And at the time, I didn't know much about St. John Vianney, despite the fact that I've probably driven by the place 1,000 times. Just didn't know what was going on there, as it were. Yeah. And once I learned about it, I came forward very willingly and offered to serve on the board.
What were some of you? Do you remember what some of you maybe your first impressions were when you first came on? Because it's interesting. Some folks don't always necessarily know what we do or how we do it, but then now you're on the board and you get to know a little bit of the internal operations.
Yeah, it became pretty evident fairly quickly that the service that the center does provide is vital to the existence, this vital to the sustaining the church in the United States and throughout the world. What the center does is treats priests and men and women religious as human beings who have certain healthcare needs and also address concerns, complete picture of body, mind, and spirit with the goal of returning that priest or religious back to the ministry in which he or she was engaged previously.
Yeah. And well said. And I wonder, was that a ministry that you were aware of before you got involved with the center, or was it the kind of thing you were aware of and maybe you became more aware of as you were with us?
No, totally unaware.
Yeah.
Just totally unaware. And it's brilliant. The services that are provided, because it's a wonderful resource for the church, not only here in the United States, but also throughout the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, can you think of one thing that might have surprised you as you were getting involved with the center, or over the years? I'm sure there have been a few surprises along the way, but anything that sticks out that, wow, I never realized this before.
Yeah, it's the depth of the care that is provided, the breadth and depth of the care that is provided. These are human beings who have a healthcare issue, and again, it could be body, mind, and or spirit. And these individuals need the care, and our success rate is very, very impressive.
Yeah, it is absolutely. So as the leader of our board, especially during the time of becoming independent from the archdiocese, an independent nonprofit, what have been some of the more rewarding aspects of your service on the board?
Well, besides doing whatever we can from the business side, as the board of directors, because the art of medicine side and the care that is being provided is all being handled by healthcare professionals.
Sure.
But the board is really looking over and sort of monitoring on the business side of the center. And well, first, the opportunity to interact with the board that we have. Currently, the composition of the board is very impressive. We have a number of clergy, men and women right now. We've lost a couple of the women religious. And then on the layperson side, we have a very nice range of skills and experience that those people bring to the board. So the opportunity to interact with the other board members, and then the opportunity to interact with David Schellenberger, our president, and other folks like yourself, Deacon Jim, it's very rewarding for me.
For me as well, it really is. We have such an impressive group of people, and what's been exciting to see especially over the last 5 years, is how the national reach has grown. Because once upon a time, we were under the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, and then I believe as we became independent, we wanted to make sure that our board kind of reflected our mission and had a broader national reach. We brought on some pretty impressive folks from around the country.
Yes, and we're constantly recruiting for the board. The board has to be self-sustaining. The board, it's just the company itself is controlled by the board. The corporation is controlled by the board, and again, the business side is what we focus on, and we get reports on the business aspects on a very regular basis, and we're able to offer guidance in terms of certain strategic decisions that need to be made periodically. And speaking of some of the things that we've accomplished is the formation of the advancement department. When I first came on, I thought we ought to be raising funds for the center. And we talked about at different times, starting the process. But then I realized that given the fact that the Archdiocese, in a sense, controlled us, that it wasn't practical to go out and start soliciting contributions.
Mm-hmm.
So once we became independent, then our ability to do that came to the fore. And the work that you've done so far has been very, very impressive.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's been a real team effort. It really has. Everyone here on the staff, yourself, the board members, our volunteers, our donors, it's a huge team effort. And I think it's important to clarify for our donors. We talk a little bit about being independent of the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, but it was a very equitable separation, as I recall. And I wasn't here when it happened. I came directly afterwards, almost as a result of it happening. But it's been it was an amicable partnership when we were underneath them, and it was an amicable separation. It just made sense for both organizations to formally, legally separate, which has helped the Archdiocese, and it's really helped St. John Vianney continue to grow and blossom. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely, positively. It was one of those win-win situations that you hear about every now and then.
Yeah,
but this truly was such.
Absolutely. And we've had some exciting developments recently. We just opened up the new wing, the new annex of our facility, of the dedication. We've had some really impressive milestones. We just will be coming out in the next couple of weeks with an announcement. But if you're tuning into this podcast, we'll give you the exclusive that we finished up our capital campaign and raised over $500,000 to begin a new suicide awareness and education program for clergy and religious. That was a pretty significant milestone. We've had a number of milestones. Any of those that have really been a blessing for you, Al, or really what you would mark as a great achievement?
Yeah, well, again, the building and the now opening of the annex, that had been something that had been in the works for quite a while. When we realized we were quickly running out of space and we needed more space, especially for the administrative side, the business side, if you will. And we had started working on that project before we became independent. And so when that whole independence process started, we tabled the annex and then picked it up again a couple of years ago. And the entire project from start to finish went very, very smoothly. Financing through Meridian Bank, getting all the approvals of the township and the county, all the red tape that you have to go through. And that was all handled very efficiently. And then the construction project itself was done in a very, very efficient manner, right on time, no cost overruns or little, if any. And the facility's first class. It's a first class facility, and it reflects the first class and world class services that we render at the center.
It does, and has a few features. Allows us to be a little more nimble, I should say, than we were before. We have now a much larger gathering room in the annex than we ever had before. We can all be in that room together, staff and residents for different gatherings. It allows some of our administrative offices to be together where they were kind of put over the years here and there where we had a spare corner or a spare office, but now the administration can be a little bit more together, which also frees up other parts of the campus, maybe for future endeavors that the board will consider. But yeah, our facilities team and David and yourself and everybody did a tremendous job in pulling that together.
Yeah, and we shouldn't forget to mention that we were in dire need of restroom facility.
Oh, I was going to say that, Al, but yeah, absolutely. I can tell you from personal experience, that was high on my list. Now, it was a huge milestone. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
So just a big win for the center and for our mission for sure. And our residents are using it every day as well for their Kairos meetings and for their gatherings. So it's tremendous. We were blessed to be able to have our Christmas party there. That was really the first big staff gathering that we had at the end of the year last year. So So St. John Vianney Center has, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, but the big ribbon cutting ceremony too. I don't think we've posted any pictures yet on the website, but
Yeah, we have I think we put a couple up on social media. Yeah,
oh,
but yeah,
okay.
absolutely. But you know what? We'll if you're watching the YouTube version of this show, I'll put a few pictures up as we're talking, so that those who are watching this can see a few pictures of our new edition. But
It would be great.
But St. John Vianney Center has such a unique and vital mission, and we've been providing behavioral health and addiction treatment for clergy and religious for such a long time. Al, from your perspective, why is this work so important for the church and those who are in ministry?
Well, if looking at it from my perspective, I started out in grade school where it was Franciscan order was providing the bulk of the teachers. After graduating from grade school, I ended up at Roman Catholic High School, which is right here, and that was the main number of teachers were our diocesan priests. I then ended up at LaSalle University, which is run by the Christian Brothers. So over the course of the years, I was able to witness the sacrifices that they made in order to better our lives, and it's not an easy life. Being a priest or a religious, it's just not an easy life, and it's important that we be ready and able to provide care for those men and women, religious and priests, who need the care, so that they can go back into ministry. And that's the thing. If unfortunately, we don't have lots of folks lining up to become new priests.
Right.
Our seminaries are not overcrowded. The men and women religious, those enrolled in those communities, that those numbers are dropping. So that just makes every single one of them even more important. And if we're able to return one of them back into into their own ministries, now we're affecting hundreds and thousands of lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe when we did our study a few years ago, it came out that, one priest in his ministry could touch more than 10,000 parishioners, right? In his ministry. So you say one priest, then you've helped over 10,000 people become closer to Christ, and get the services that they need. It's tremendous. Any memorable stories that you can share, that maybe where it was maybe a moment that reaffirmed your commitment to the center, or something that was kind of an aha moment for you?
Sure. There's a certain recency bias to this, but recently I was able to attend a mass, and maybe you can explain a little more in detail. But when one of our guests are being discharged or is being discharged, there's a mass that celebrates the discharge.
Yes, and discharge liturgy. Yep.
Yeah, the liturgy, and the mass itself is celebrated by the individual who is now being discharged.
Yes.
So for the first time in the 15 years that I've been on the board, I attended one of those, and that was just very recently, and it was really, really very encouraging to see how positive an impact it had on this individual, and how the individual couldn't express enough gratitude for the services that had been provided. Again, body, mind, and spirit, and how ready he was to go back into ministry. And a young man. And that was the first time I witnessed that, and it made it real, just very real.
I'm so glad you could hear his witness. That's wonderful,
Yeah.
Al.
Yeah.
It's one of the privileges of being a staff member here at St. John Vianney Center, to have the opportunity to attend those discharge liturgies and hear from our residents the experience that they've had. And oftentimes, it starts out the same, that they came through the red door, which is the main door of our facility, with a lot of trepidation, with a lot of fear, a lot of concern, maybe a little bit of embarrassment. And very quickly, they were made to feel at home and relaxed, and they could move into their treatment. And maybe it wasn't, maybe it didn't happen very quickly. Maybe it took a little time for them to be comfortable. But just to hear that whole journey and that whole experience and where they're at as they're leaving us is so gratifying. And then when we get to see them come back, many of them come back for alumni weekend, and you get to see how they're doing a year out, 2 years out, 5 years out, sometimes 10 years out, they come back. And you get to see how their ministry has blossomed. It's very gratifying. If you ever are in the doldrums and you're having a tough day, it's a great way to kind of respark your excitement over the mission, and you want to get right back to work. It's just exciting.
Yes, and the other thing too, I've had the opportunity to attend a reception that St. John sponsors at the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops.
Yes,
fall meeting in November in Baltimore, and we have a very nice reception after the first business day. And by attending that, I've had the opportunity to meet many bishops and archbishops, and even on 1 or 2 occasions, a cardinal here or there. And the opportunity to just stand there and talk with them, have a bite, have a little drink, and just talk about what's happening in their diocese or archdiocese. And in some instances, some of the dioceses and archdioceses are doing extraordinarily well.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very encouraging to hear that that's the case, and just talking to them about what's happening in the church and all the good things that the church does, and steps that the church ought to be taking to mount some sort of counteroffensive on the public relations side,
right?
Try to overcome the narrative that organized religions are bad and Catholicism is the worst.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just wonderful, and what we do, again, provides further ammunition of how much good the Catholic Church does do here in the world.
I couldn't agree more. I had the privilege of attending that with you this past fall for the first time, and there's such gratitude in the hearts of our bishops who come to that. Many of them come just to say thank you, and to tell us how well their man or woman or how their person is doing that they may have sent to us. And how they're blossoming now in the field. So it's really, it's wonderful to hear the stories of how they're doing. So Al, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we're honoring you and 3 other wonderful inaugural recipients of some awards in May. You're going to be our first recipient of the Outstanding Champion Award for our 80th anniversary. I couldn't think of anybody more appropriate for that award. And I know, all humility aside, but what does this recognition mean to you personally?
Well, I'm just a benefactor of all the great work that's going on at the center. The small role that I play, somehow I'm getting rewarded, but really the focus should be on all the staff there at St. John Vianney and all the great work that's being done there by the staff, the professionals, the caregivers, the administrative side. I mean, everybody top to bottom is doing a wonderful job. And I don't get awards very often. I don't, so this is sort of something new for me, and well, I'll get through it.
I'm sure it's humbling, but it's a time of great celebration for us, Al, because you've seen us. Our 80th anniversary in and of itself is a wonderful opportunity to celebrate the successes and the change that's happened here. But for you, Al, also that you've seen us through so much change over the last 15 years, and especially over the last 6 or 7 years. A tremendous amount of change as this ministry has continued to grow and to blossom, whether it be on the board or the staff or the number of services that we're providing. It's just been, it must be incredible to see where we were maybe 15 years ago versus where we are today.
Yeah, we were going through some tough times. There's no doubt about it. And, but David Schellenberger was the first lay president of the center in its history. And David's background and his education and his training, he's such a unique combination of skills.
Yes,
that he's just the ideal person to be serving as president, and he's doing a wonderful job. And he engenders such a high degree of enthusiasm in the staff, and it's palpable. whenever you attend any of their functions. It's very palpable. And
Yeah.
and over the last, as you said, since we became independent and we're able to really expand what we do and what we offer, it's just been really very heartwarming, all in all.
Absolutely. Well, and David's, he inspires, I think, where he comes from is such a place of authenticity, and the staff sense that, and he genuinely wants this to be a great place to work. And he puts in all the ingredients and the pieces to make that a reality. And we as a staff and we as a management team recognize that, and people respond very positively. It's tremendous place to work. So, Al, as we move into this 80th year here in January, what do you feel that this milestone says about the center's kind of enduring role, and what excites you about the future for the center?
Well, I've seen some articles recently where it seems like younger people are coming back to the church, and so if we start seeing an increased interest in participating on a full-time basis in their faith, then we may see an enlarged enrollment in seminaries, and other men and women religious communities may see more. And one of the services that we offer is the assessment. So if a candidate comes along and puts his or her hand up and says, "Hey, I think I have a vocation," then we do an assessment, and we may say, "Yes, indeed, we think you're on the right track." Or I suppose every now and then we say, "You might want to consider another line of work."
Or pray about it a little bit more. Yeah.
Or, So I think that service will be able to expand the number of people there because of the increased enrollment or increased interest in participating in the church. And just some of the demographical issues with the number of priests and religious in the United States and throughout the world, each one will become even more important.
Yeah.
And we'll have to do everything that we can to be able to restore the individual to his or her ministry. So, and I see that as being, going forward, being the primary role.
Yeah. Well, as David would say, we work to the day where our services are no longer needed, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
but until that time, we want to be the resource center for the church, and that's what we aspire to. And in many ways, we have been that, and hope to continue to be. Al, as we wrap this up, is there if there's someone listening to this podcast who would like to get more involved or help kind of carry forward the mission of St. John Vianney Center as we move into our 80th anniversary, where should they start?
Well, I think they should start with our website and glean as much information as they possibly can. There's a lot of information there in the website. They take their time, go through it, learn what they can. And then after they've done that, if they have more questions or comments, they should feel free to reach out to you, Deacon Jim, to David. They can reach out to me or any other board member. You can find our information in the website as part of our team. We would certainly, if you wish to do so, please donate. We have lots of good causes to which, your money will sustain. And then if you're really, really interested in getting involved, just let us know. Let us know.
Absolutely.
We're constantly recruiting board members, and we have 3 committees of the board, and those committees also are looking periodically for new members. And there'll be plenty of opportunities if you want to, dedicate your time and your talents to the organization. And we'll take some of your treasure too, if you don't mind.
Time's out and treasure. That's what makes the world go round. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely. And we're going to put a link in the show notes of this episode to, if you would like to be a part of the anniversary breakfast. Our seating right now is at capacity. However, if you'd like to make a gift in honor of our 80th anniversary, if you'd like to take out an ad in our program booklet, we'll leave those opportunities. You can find them on our website. But Al, I want to thank you for joining us on our podcast today. Thank you on behalf of all of us for the tremendous service that you have provided St. John Vianney Center and taking us really to the next level, to the next chapter. And the future is very bright because of yourself and all of our wonderful board members and volunteers and donors who have made this institution stronger because of your involvement. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure and quite an honor. I appreciate it.
So that's our show today. Thanks for joining us on Journey to Thrive. Once again, you can find more information about our mission and ministry and Al Riviezzo in the show notes of this episode. Thanks again for joining us, and God bless.